Are you sick of spending money on getting your kids stuff that they either don't fully appreciate or use after 1 to 2 times? Are you wanting to instead give your kids more family experiences, but aren't exactly sure how to make it all financially possible? Coming out of the COVID pandemic, there's a huge rise in families wanting to get out of the house, explore, discover, and just spend their time and money on doing things together instead of collecting stuff. But where does one even begin with saving for such an adventure? It's time to take all that stress out of the planning and find real, practical, and tangible solutions with today's podcast guest, Krista of Money Mindful Moms. Listen in as Krista and I take your dreams of giving your family memorable experiences together and make them a very realistic and inexpensive reality. It no longer has to stay on your dream board. It's time to plan your next vacation with us. Let's dive in. Hey mama, welcome to Mom Nation. Do you want a better work-life balance and more time and energy? Do you find yourself thinking, how can I add more hours into the day? Or Googling, how to deal with mom guilt and can my marriage survive toddlers? Do you wake up with big goals only to feel overwhelmed and alone and you have no one to help you and your littles aren't listening to you again? Hey, I'm Cheyanne. I too was an exhausted mom away from my family. I too felt drained with a strong-willed toddler and wished I could find balance between being a wife, mom, stepmom, and entrepreneur. I wanted more energy to give my husband, to discipline my kids well, and incorporate Jesus into our home. But I kept telling myself that I just couldn't do it without a community around me. Until I found balance and confidence in raising Jesus-loving littles. In this podcast, you will find time and energy management help, tips for disciplining, and what to do when you have no village, so that you will find balance between all of your roles and trust your own mom tuition. Time to grab those headphones, mama, pour that green smoothie, and get ready to be mom-inspired. You're no longer alone. Well, hello, mamas. Thank you so much for joining me on another episode here at Mom Nation, where us moms get real, we get authentic, and we get down to business. And today we have a highly requested topic from you ladies that have come in from all of your interviews and all of your requests in my private Facebook group, which if you're wondering, what the heck is that? Don't worry, I'll have more information on that later. And of course, a link in the show notes. But this is something that you guys have continually asked me about. And I got a great mom expert to talk about this very topic for you. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce my guest, and she is going to launch into telling you a little bit more about what we're talking about today. But first and foremost, I want to welcome my guest today, Krista from Money Mindful Moms. Hey girl, welcome to the Mom Nation podcast.
Oh my gosh, thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here and to chat with you a little bit.
Likewise. I am so thankful for technology because it's not only connecting us and connecting us to all of my amazing mom listeners out there, but it also got us a chance to get to know each other a little bit. We recently became Insta buddies, and I love that. That's been a fun experience.
Yes, totally. I love how the internet works and sometimes just partners you up with just the perfect people.
Definitely. And it's funny how it's like that new normal of almost like knowing so much about someone before you launch into your first conversation, right? It's like
Absolutely. Yeah.
I remember when we
So
first
fun.
talked face to face, I was like, okay, so I kind of stalked you. And basically I already want to be like your BFF. I want to be your business partner. Like I love all that you
Aw.
stand by because I can't wait for you to share with everyone today what you do, because really like one stop on your social media and on your website. And I was instantly like, this is what I've been looking for. And this is what so many of my moms have been looking for. So I'm just going to shut up and I'm going to let you tell all of us a little bit more about yourself. You are a mom of 4, and so you can definitely relate to so many of my moms listening. I know you are also a mom of a little. You've got a little one at home. So why don't you just take a moment and share with us a little bit about your family and also what you do?
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm so glad that you shared that when you were on my site and on my Instagram, that it was what you had been looking for, because that's exactly why I created it. Because when I was in the same shoes as you, I was looking for something like this and I just didn't see it. And so that's exactly why I wanted to create it. So, like she said, I'm Krista from Money Mindful Moms. And I help moms who are just starting out or sort of restarting their journey towards becoming more mindful with their money. And a lot of times that can look like paying off debt. A lot of times that can look like just prioritizing building up savings or cash flowing family experiences so that you're not in that debt cycle. So I love that that resource really helped you. I have a blog and an Instagram where I share a lot, and I have a program that helps moms. So yeah, that's really what I'm super passionate about, is helping moms in that area.
I love it. I love it. And I love that it comes from such a personal space, because something you said right there that resonated with me so much, and maybe moms listening, is like kind of relearning. And it is a relearning process once we become wives and then we become mothers, because unlike when we're single, we're now balancing a different kind of a budget and we're balancing different kinds of numbers. And our passions really pivot too, instead of maybe saving up for a night out with the girls or something, suddenly we're like, okay, like how can I save up for my kids to get a new pair of sneakers that they need already, because they just grow like crazy and they don't stop growing. And so there's all these different focuses now that we're moms. And so I love that you're reclaiming that space and like showing a woman like, hey, it may be overwhelming and confusing, but hey, we got this together.
Oh my gosh. Yes, absolutely. It's just, you just become more aware of things in a different way. I think once children are in the picture, it's no longer, just me, myself, and I. It's your money is now spread out and you have different priorities. And there's just a lot to consider for sure.
Definitely. And, one thing that I've seen a trend more on social media or just in my mom circles, even, I've noticed a lot of moms, maybe it's since post COVID, people getting this like new awakening after being just completely locked indoors for 2 years. I see so many moms starting to want to give their kids more than just stuff. It's like,
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
how we were locked in for 2 years, and I think moms like maybe got over the stuff because all we had was our stuff. Like we couldn't go outside, we couldn't do a lot of things, we couldn't experience and travel the way we wanted. And so now here we are in 2023, and I've seen this pivot where I have a lot of moms ask me like, Shy, like, how can I do this with my family? Like, how can I have more family experiences? And yet I think there's that fear thinking that family experiences or family travel can be very expensive or very overwhelming when it comes financially. So, since you have experience in this area, Krista, I'm wondering like, how would you recommend a mom to start a budget for family experiences outside the home?
Yeah, so good. And you're so right with the pandemic. And I feel like now the floodgates have opened where we can travel a
Um,
lot more. And it's like we want to be smart and we want to do it well and not just, overextend ourselves financially to make up for lost time. So the
Hopefully.
first thing that I would say is really just don't assume that you can't afford it. You really need to look at your numbers, because I think we just assume, oh, money's tight, I can't afford it. But when is the last time that you actually like dove into your numbers? Do you know how much is coming in and where it's going and what the excess is? Because a lot of times you might be
Mm.
surprised if you actually like went through your bank statement and saw like, hey, we have this extra money. It's just kind of disappearing on random stuff. And so I just need to be more intentional with where that money is going. And I think sometimes we can automatically jump to, okay, what do I need to cut in order to make this happen? And that certainly can be the
Right.
case, is cutting expenses. But I always tell people to focus on what I call the big boulders instead of the little pebbles. And I think sometimes we focus on the
Ooh.
little pebbles, and the little pebbles are, well, let me cut out my Starbucks run, or let me cut out my Netflix subscription. And it's not to say that those things don't add up, because they absolutely do. But what if instead you focused on the big boulders? And the big boulders could look like your income. That's a huge boulder, right? How can we
Yeah.
increase the income? Or some of the bigger expenses, including your rent or mortgage or car payments, those bigger things. Like, how can we really make the biggest impact to free up like the most amount that we can to get you towards whatever that goal is. And just like any other priority, whether it's paying down debt or building savings or saving for a vacation, I always notice that we tend to do this thing where we just say, well, we'll just see what's left over at the end of the month. And then we'll put that towards whatever the thing is. And
Coach.
how many of you guys have ever said that? And then there's nothing left over at the end of the
Guilty.
month, right?
Yeah.
When we do it that way. And so I always tell people, don't do it that way. Decide now what you want, how much it's going to cost to get you there, break it down by month, and then prioritize that in your budget as like a line item of this is happening. And if you need to increase the income to make it happen, then we'll focus on that. Or if we need to decrease expenses, but just sort of this like waiting until there's leftover money, it's just not, it's not going to happen.
Yeah, even hearing you paint it that way, I was like, wow, that makes so much sense. It's so applicable to so many areas of life. And yet I feel like when it comes to budgeting and saving for things, we can forget that. There's almost like that disconnect there. And so I love that you bring back that intention to basically, if I understand you correctly, Krista, is just saying that, like, if you have this intention, you want to give your children and your family these experiences, basically make it a priority, is what I'm hearing.
Absolutely. Yeah. And just decide how much it's going to take each month, and like have a separate account that you're automatically transferring that to. So it's just like paying any other bill, that there isn't really like this negotiation between, am I going to pay my car payment or not, or am I going to pay my house payment? You just pay it. And so if you have that like as a priority, it's the same thing. You're just transferring it. Or if you're a cash envelope kind of person, I'm just putting it aside in this envelope. It's not really something that I like negotiate with myself.
I love that. I love that. It really makes it more of a, what do they say, like a goal into a reality versus it just always kind of
Yeah.
staying there, like on the vision
Hmm.
board, right? It's like,
For
actually,
sure.
no, like, let's make this tangible. Let's make this practical. And
Hmm.
now, would you suggest that when a mom sets out for a family experience, do you think it's best? I know you had said something about kind of like see how much it costs. So do you think it's
Hmm.
best for when a mom is beginning to think about a budget, instead of just saying like, oh, family experience, or like a trip to Mexico might be nice. Like, do you think it would be better for them to get a little more tangible with it, like really break it down to the nitty gritty so that they can see what's possible, maybe see exactly what kind of money they're needing to work with?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And sometimes when I'm working with a client and let's say they have a goal they want to go to a specific spot, they want to go to Hawaii or whatever that
Mhm.
is. And if I ask them, okay, how much is it? Most of the time they don't know, because it's almost like this fear of, I don't want to see how much it is, because then it makes it more real. Right. And so
Yeah.
I would just challenge you, go figure it out. How much would it cost for that to happen? And figure out, okay, if I want to go a year from now, what does that look like if I break it down by in chunks each month?
Yes, yes. Gosh, I feel like you were talking to me because that is at the top of my list. I have to admit, right there, is going to Hawaii. And
Yeah.
as moms, like, we're so full of fears. And the moment that I know we have so many reasons to stop these kind of trips, experiences, it's like, okay, we want them, but then we start thinking about the budget. And then, especially if you're a mom of littles like us, I know you start thinking about, oh my gosh, but that travel with littles. And I promise you, as a woman who's traveled 5 times by myself between Belgium and the US, making many plane layovers and stuff, it's challenging, but it's totally doable. It's totally worth it. And mama, I've got an episode for that too. So no, don't worry about it. I think it's definitely about mindset, is what I think it all comes down to, what it all boils down to. And that's what you're definitely sharing and showing with me today. And so, Krista, what would you share with a mom who needs to overcome that mindset also about feeling like maybe she's foregoing giving her something kids that they need in the moment versus saving for what feels like a luxury as a family experience?
Mm. Yeah, so good. And I think sometimes we forget, like, what do our kids actually need? Because we
Mm.
we have decided, oh, they need to be involved in all these activities, or they need to have these specific type of clothes or shoes or toys or whatever. And kind of forgetting like, well, what do they actually need from me as a mom is probably a lot less than we feel like we have to give them, right? And
Right.
so I think just really being intentional in that way. And I always tell people as a mom, remember that what you are after is a feeling, and you can be flexible with how you get to that feeling. So maybe you are just in a season where a big luxury vacation is not like on the table, at least for now. But what you could do is achieve the same feeling with a different experience for your family. And I know
Mm.
for us, one of my favorite memories with my family is when our daughter, who's now 13, when she was really little, we went to the beach because we live in California. So we went to the beach one summer. And then the next summer, we went to a different beach. And after that, I heard her tell someone, our family has a tradition where every year we go to a different beach. And I was like, we do? So I didn't realize, but in her little mind, she thought this is just something we do as a family, and it was free. It didn't cost anything. And so guess what? 13 years later, every summer we go visit a new spot, and it's become a family tradition. And she
Oh,
will, I know without a doubt, she will remember that for the rest of her life, and it doesn't cost us anything. So I always want to encourage you that even if you are in a season where financially the bigger vacation isn't an option, you absolutely can achieve the same feeling with a different experience that isn't going to require that you overextend yourself.
wow. Wow. I love that. That was a golden nugget right there, mamas. If you need a moment to pause and rewind on that, like Krista was full on giving you permission to give yourself a break, cut yourself a break. Like you said, like it's okay to have those family experiences that may not seem large or extravagant, but look at out of the mouth of babes, your sweet little girl was like, oh yeah, we go to the beach, a different one every summer. And I love that. And I love that it instigated something in you. Like it reminds me of how important it is as moms to also listen to our kids. Cause I know
For
so
sure.
often we can listen to, it can feel like they just want things, but it's like those moments too that show what's really important to them, what really stands out to them. And I think, as kind of a final question, as I have for you this episode, Krista, is would you encourage, even, I'm thinking kids as young as 3 or 4 or 5, they're maybe first starting to learn about numbers and money. Like, would
Mm.
you encourage moms to get their kids involved in this experience as far as planning out and maybe even the budgeting part of planning a family experience?
That's such a great question. And yeah, I absolutely would. I think that depending on their ages, there's totally appropriate things that you can do with them to plan. And I
Mm.
think probably the biggest one for the little ones, anyways, is just involving them in the planning process so that they take ownership of that and they know, hey, this is what we're working on. And I think it also is a great reminder because I'm really big about being intentional with your words around your kids about money. And so, when
Mm.
you are at the store and they're asking for this toy and it's not in your budget, that you can remind them instead of saying, we can't afford that, we don't have the money, those things. You're saying, hey, you know what? I love that you're excited about this toy, but remember how we are focusing on that Disney trip. And so right now, remember our extra money in our budget is going towards that Disney trip so that we can enjoy that trip. But maybe after we're done with our trip, maybe we can figure out a way to prioritize that toy. So it's a good lesson too in saving and that delayed gratification sometimes, but just involving them in the process I think can be really helpful, even for the little ones.
Yeah, and starting it then too, I think as a mom of a little myself, I go back and forth of should I try to explain this to him? Oh, he can't really understand, but then I'm always so surprised at how much my son can understand. And
So true. Yeah.
when you give them the benefit of the doubt, and I love that. And I have to say, Krista, overall, you've been such a breath of fresh air because I feel like you give moms just permission to breathe and lean into this process and enjoy it. And I'm just so very thankful that you came on my podcast today.
Oh, thank you so much for having me, and thank you for saying that. That really is my hope. And like I said, when I was like looking into this myself and working on these goals as a newbie, I wanted to hear from a mom who was in the trenches with me instead of just this older guy who was standing on a mountaintop and saying, "Here's how you get to where I am," and it just felt so far away. And so I just really want moms to feel encouraged that wherever they're at, wherever they're starting from, they have what it takes right now, right here, to make an impact in their family's finances.
Well, job well done. I am giving you a huge virtual high five
Yay!
all the way across the ocean and time zones, girl. And before we go, I want to make sure that every single mom that's been listening to your beautiful insights here tonight, that if they would like to further connect with you, I want to make sure that they do so. So if you could please just share, what is the best way for a mom to connect with you and find all your resources? How can they do that?
Yeah, absolutely. So I mostly hang out over on Instagram, so you can definitely find me there. It's just at Money Mindful Moms, so pretty easy to find me. And if you have questions or whatnot, feel free to send me a DM. I love chatting with people and just kind of seeing how I can support. I also have a blog, so if you really like reading blog posts and really are wanting to dive in and binge all the free content that I have, you can head over to just moneymindfulmoms.com to read more and get started on your money mindful journey.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. And while you're there, I have to say, because I've done some binging myself, you'll get some great nuggets about family life and beauty and a little bit of food wisdom and a little bit of everything. So I love that you've offered that like one-stop shop. And you are so darn personal on face to face with podcasts, but also on Instagram as well. So, ladies, go. She's going to be one of those people you shoot a DM and she's going to respond to you personally. She's going to make you feel so loved. So I couldn't encourage you enough, because I know firsthand, and it's why we're here tonight. So please get over and hit up Krista at the Money Mindful Moms and go reach out to her and allow her to help you, allow her to inspire you in the way that she knows firsthand best, because she's been there.
Oh, awesome. Thank you for having me.
You're so welcome. Thank you, Krista, for joining me on this episode. And I already look forward to having you on another one. I'm just going to declare it like this is the beautiful beginning, I feel like, of an awesome friendship and partnership. And you have so much to offer moms. So I'm just going to say until next time, again, thank you
Yes.
for joining me. And thank you, ladies, for joining us on another episode of Mom Nation. Be sure to check the show notes below, because I'm going to have all of Krista's links that she talked about in the show notes below. I'll also have the link to my Facebook group. And we are just so proud of you. Thank you for dedicating this time with us today. And here is a big virtual hug from us to you. With all the overwhelming and hard choices a new mom has to make, where you get you and your baby's top-notch nutrition shouldn't be one of them. Ever since I first began my fertility journey, I've trusted one place with all of my women's wellness needs. A company and brand that truly goes above and beyond with their cleaning and natural products. I mean, they even pray over their supplements. Yep, I'm talking about Pink Stork, a woman-owned, American-based women's wellness company that has products for every area of a woman's needs. Everything from fertility, pregnancy, prenatal, postnatal, nursing, menopause, to even a brand new line of men's fertility products and vitamin drops for babies. See why it's my one-stop shop, mama? I can shop in peace and good vibes when I have Pink Stork in my shopping cart. And so can you. Go check out my own link below or visit holyhealthyhappymama.com/pinkstork to check out my personal favorites list and grab yourself 15% off with code CheyenneC15. You won't be disappointed.